Hello, world.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
There. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
It's like I've forgotten how to say hello.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm Carolina Groppa, your host and fellow producer, and this is Life with Caca. I'm so excited to continue my chat with badass producer Barbara Muschietti. If you missed part 1 last week, I highly recommend checking that out before listening to this one. It's actually really great timing because in this part, we dive deep into the transition from making these big, high-concept commercials with her brother to her first feature film, Mama, with that year's breakout star, Jessica Chastain. When that movie opened #1 in the box office that year, Guillermo del Toro, who came on as an EP on the film, told her and Andy that now they get to make yet another movie. Because you only build a career one movie at a time. And they did. They made the first It movie, and that broke records in 2017. And now, It Chapter 2, which just came out on Friday, September 6th, also broke records when it became the second best global opening for a horror film of all time, with a cool $185 million. I guess her and Andy get to make yet another movie. We also talk about making yourself indispensable, what terrifies her, and why taking breaks is crucial. I'm so glad that you're here spending this hour with me. And without further ado, let's dive back in.
Okay, so I just want to do a quick summary. So you Argentina, then you email your brother a letter or an email, and you say, "Hey, we're going to do this."
This was before email.
This
was like
fax,
written letter. We faxed a lot. We faxed a lot, but this was probably like a written letter with printed photographs that I sent my parents.
Oh my God, you
to
should find that
Argentina.
letter. That would be amazing.
My parents kept it also because I did like a spreadsheet of not a spreadsheet.
Of course, you did a spreadsheet. You're such a producer.
Of how the success was gonna happen. I had no idea what success was. I didn't know, but I just So.
I mean, I'm sure you made a compelling argument because here you are, and Andy's just crushing it with you. But so then you guys decide to work together. You're at UCLA, and then you start kind of figuring out how you're going to make your first things together. But you had already been doing, I guess, productions in Barcelona and working in sort of that world. Is that when you guys went there?
So what happened was that I when I graduated from UCLA, while I was studying at UCLA, I would be a script reader for producers. I would do, coverage. Mm-hmm. And forever, even when I was in Argentina, I had PA'd on sets of commercials. I was always trying to learn and, do stuff and hardly ever getting paid, but I was just there. And when I graduated from UCLA, I got into a panic because I was on basically after you study in the US, mm-hmm. they give you a 1-year visa to do practical training, the practical training visa. I don't know if this even exists anymore, but this is how it used to be.
Yeah.
So, but you have a year to prove yourself and then get a work permit from somebody. And I just needed to get a job in the industry. So, when I graduated, I had balls of steel. I don't know how I did these things. I really don't understand how. But I knew that sending my resume out to production companies, I knew no one in the business. I had no in the business. I started sending resumes out. No one ever responded. Yeah. And I was watching TV late at night, and I found out that they were making Evita, that Antonio Banderas and Madonna were making Evita in Argentina. Mm. So the next morning, I get in my, it was the early days of internet. We're talking about 95, I think. Mm-hmm. And I found out that Alan Parker was directing it, and I found his production company in London. That the production company was in London. I called them And I said,
that's an expensive call.
yeah, it was an expensive call.
That's a
It
big
was
deal.
back in the days. And I called him and I said, I'm Argentinian and I'm interested. I knew nothing. I mean, I was such a chicken, like a baby chick that knew absolutely nothing. And I called them and they said, yeah, but we're running the production from LA, from Alan Parker's office in LA. Just send your resume there. So his company was Sturdy Hands. I remember it was on Sunset Boulevard. I faxed my resume, which was just so full of steroids that I can't even...
A lot of fluff language.
Oh my God, it was just insane. And with it came a letter, with it I sent a letter, a fax
Yeah.
saying that basically they couldn't do the production in Argentina without me, that they were going to get, they didn't know the ins and outs and that I knew nothing. But then 5 days go by and I get a call from, the production supervisor, Nick Hipsley Cox, and he says, listen, I know nothing about you, whatever on this resume, but let's go have coffee. And we happened to live 5 blocks from each other. I was living in Venice. And we just had coffee. And during coffee, he said, are you interested in commercials? And I said, no, I just graduated film from UCLA. I'm not, doing commercials.
I'm making movies.
I'm making movies. And he said, oh, that's too bad because on Monday I start, producing this big commercial and I thought I could try you out. And of course I said, I'll do anything. So I was like literally the garbage PA on this commercial, big commercial. I was just like collecting garbage on set.
Trash sweeps.
Yeah. And I remember, just lifting the bag. It was summer in San Bernardino and just being bathed in garbage juice. Yeah, it was lovely. But after the job, I guess he liked the garbage juice baths on me. And he said, okay, I'm going to go to Argentina to suss it out because we're starting, we're trying to figure out if it will work for Evita. I'll call you in about 6 months. He went to Argentina and he called me the following day and said, I think I need a trusted translator. So I flew myself, actually.
You flew out. Wow.
I flew myself there and I started working right away and I never left the movie. I made myself as indispensable as possible. That I was Argentinian, that I knew the language, of course, helped a lot. Mm-hmm. But I also made myself available 22 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I worked so hard. And I remember meetings in which I could feel that I should have not been in those meetings, and a couple of the producers were looking at me suspiciously, like, "What the hell is she doing?
Yeah, what's her deal?
What is she doing here?" But I wasn't getting kicked out, so I learned. I can track all of my jobs from that job. And I made great friends and I had great teachers and I love Alan Parker, who's a master, and Lisa Moran, his wife, another, just amazing producer. David Wimbury, Darius Conji. I had so many mentors on that film.
Yeah. So then you were really ready, I guess, when Mama came around. Like you had that in you, so you were ready to tackle all of the challenges.
Yeah, but without knowing it, I had picked up skills. I made Mama we started when I was 37, I think. And that meant that I had been picking up skills for 15 years.
Yeah.
But I didn't have somebody that had given me the roadmap of this is how you make a film.
Right.
I had to kind of create my own, and I had the most amazing right hand, Christina in Spain, who was our first intern in the commercial production company, and she is a very young master producer, and we figured it out.
Yeah, that's what you do. So talk a little bit about, because Guillermo del Toro came on that project as an EP, right? Mm-hmm. And so how did that all work for you, having that support? And obviously Mama from the outside was the thing that sort of catapulted you into...
Inside the castle.
Yes, that put you in the fast track to the castle. So talk a little bit about that transition, and then I'm curious for you to reflect on from that time and where you are now here, end of July 2019, It Chapter 2. How have you grown as a producer?
Well, Andy directing me, producing high-end comedy commercials, basically. Cars, Coca-Colas, just, big production toys. But there's still 30 seconds,
Right.
Yeah. And we wanted to make a movie. We desperately wanted to make a movie. We knew that we had written a script, and we wanted a company piece for the script, because if you Googled Andy, all you could see was comedy. So we felt that we needed to show him directing something that was not comedy. So we did this style exercise. It wasn't even a short, it was a style exercise. We knew we wanted to do something impactful and very short, because if it was bad then, just 2009, 2010, it's even worse now. It's just attention span of the population. I'm not talking about the youth, I'm talking about the agents and the business. So we made a 3-minute short that was not related really to the script we had written. The script we had written was horror. So we made a horror style exercise. 3 minutes long. It poses a lot of questions. Got to Guillermo through our dear friend Russell Ackerman. Guillermo called us, and he said, "Guys, I want to help you get this made. We can make it in Spanish in Spain for 2 million, or we can make it in English for 20 million. But just letting you know, if you make it in Spanish for 2 million, then somebody will get the remake rights and make it for 20, and you'll be very jealous."
Right. Yeah.
So we had a hard time, it is so crazy. We didn't know how fragile the project was, in the sense of how many roadblocks there was going to be, like there are in any film project.
Yeah.
We didn't know better, so we were like, "Oh, I don't know. Should we make it in Spanish and be completely independent and do what we want to do?" In the high horse. And suddenly it was great, because we had an intern in the production company, super smart. He's now in LA. He's a producer, Pablo. And he looked at us and went, "Do it for 20.
Yeah, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong?" So we kind of woke up from our, artistic fart cloud, and we said, "Okay, we're going to do it, with Guillermo." So Guillermo put us with Universal, and it was really, it was a negative pickup for them. They had no risk, because we had raised so much soft money, even when I didn't know what soft money was, that it was a very safe bet for them. And Guillermo said to us, "Well, I'm going to be shooting Pacific Rim in Canada, so come shoot it in Canada." So, which was ideal, because we had this treaty, this co-production treaty. And for anybody that's thinking of producing with Europe or with Canada, don't be overwhelmed by the amount of paperwork or the language in these treaties. Try to get help from a lawyer.
It's great advice.
And just get it done.
Yeah.
A law student. That's what you do. You know, a young producer and a law student will get this done. So we developed the script. Andy and I wrote the first draft of Mama. Then Neil Cross came in and did a polish. And I'm sure that without us knowing, the project fell on it, just got pulverized 100 times. Because when you're having something so small compared to the larger, I remember our executive was managing our tiny little project, and he was also managing in the studio our IPD. So his brain was definitely somewhere else, which for us actually was kind of good because we just like slipped right under the radar of big problems.
Yeah.
And we were cheap. So nothing was moving here in the US, but suddenly we got a saving grace at some festival. I don't remember if it was TIFF or what festival. Guillermo had a conversation with the head of Universal International. Basically, they were running from the UK, and he said, "Yeah, sure, let's take over this." And they started helping us do a roadmap on the movie, and basically before we knew it, we had we were asked to do a cash flow. And then we had a delay because I don't remember what the delay was about, but Guillermo said, spend money, go spend money, go ask for more money and spend money. So I said, okay, we're going to do another short. We're going to do a test on Mama. So we asked for $50,000, which really in the scheme of things is nothing. But we felt like we were spending money and they were more invested in it.
Yeah.
So we shot this second short. And we just kept on going. And I would send emails saying, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to spend this. So if you don't write back and tell me not to do it, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I got so much done with this technique that I can't even, I can't even believe how far we got with this. I mean, we were prepping the film in Canada by not getting an answer, really, on the which was fantastic.
I wish you guys could all see her face. She's mischievous.
And then, we got extra lucky because we need to cast the movie. Mm-hmm. And we needed an Annabelle, a special Annabelle. And I'm watching, and we're fantasizing about different actors. And one day I'm watching trailers on Apple TV, and I see a trailer for The Tree of Life. Mm. And I go, that's Annabelle, Jessica Chastain. Mm-hmm. So we call our agent and we say, please, let's set something up. And they set up a Skype call. And I have to give credit to our then agent, Mark, who said, guys, don't do a Skype. Come to LA. This was a Wednesday. We were having a sit down or a Skype with her on Friday. So Thursday we got on a plane, arrived in LA, and sat with her for 2 hours. And she was amazing.
Yeah.
And we connected in so many levels. Andy and her are like artistic twins. It's very odd. They like they have very similar tastes, and they love dancing, swing, and they love ukulele and old songs, and it was fantastic. And she ended up saying yes, although I think CAA was a little reluctant.
Yeah.
Because she was like such a rising star at that moment, had just gotten, an accolade in Cannes for Tree of Life. She had just broken.
Right. The Help had just happened.
Yes.
Yeah. It was like her first thing that people were turning, heads. Who is this girl?
They were a little like reluctant to, have their gem, on a project with a first-time filmmaker that was genre. But she made her own decision, which I think it is very much. And by the way, she's got, Hilda is like, for me, one of the greatest agents in the business.
Yeah,
and
Hilda's pretty great. That's
like a badass woman. But and I'm pretty sure Hilda was for the project. But she makes a lot of her own decisions. Jess is just a strong, sensitive woman.
Yeah.
And I love that. I just, she's my kind of,
Your kind of lady.
Yeah, and she's one of my besties. She really is, and it's, I have, true admiration
Well,
for
it's
her.
like you said, you spent so much time with the people that you work with, and to be making another movie with her, it speaks volumes, right, to the friendship and the bond that you guys have developed that wouldn't just happen if the first one was a disaster.
Yeah,
behind the scenes, you know what I mean? It could have been very successful, but if the sort of interpersonal wasn't there and the bond, I think, who knows? Yeah.
No, but also, since we made our first movie, she then became a superstar. And, she never changed. She's
that's good to hear.
The same.
Yeah.
She's a great woman.
That's really good to hear. Okay, so then Mama, and now here we are.
Yes.
It's been what? That was it came out 2011. You guys know you made it in 2009. It came out in 2011.
No, it came out. We shot it
in 2011.
2011, and it came out 2013.
Okay, so we're 6 years into it. In what ways do you feel like you've grown as a producer since?
Oh, a lot, and I've also aged.
That's good. Aging is a blessing.
I could not be happier than I am right now.
Good.
I'm 47, and I'm so happy I'm 47.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy I'm not in my 20s, because my 20s were so riddled with the anxiety of being very ambitious, but not knowing how the hell I was going to accomplish the things I wanted to accomplish. So I was sleepless and trying to figure out what the path was, and you cannot figure out the path,
right?
It's you just march through it, and eventually you realize, oh wow, I do know how to do this. So yeah, but after Mama, we got a call from Universal that had successfully distributed Mama to do The Mummy. And we were like, well, the script is not there, and we didn't understand that, because truly Mama, although we had the support of Universal in certain territories and the distribution, it was not a studio film, so we did not understand the process of the studio, and especially with a film like The Mummy, which is like a massive production.
That's a big step too, to go from what essentially is an independent movie, and that happened to be distributed right by a big company, to jump into the shoes of the expectations that come with something like The Mummy. Sounds real stressful.
It was a huge leap, and also because we really did not understand the system. We didn't understand that people in Hollywood have a hard time verbalizing difficult things, and that everything is glorious and great. We love this, even when they don't love it and they know that they can't sell it. It took us a good 2 years to realize that that is just a language of the business and a part of the business, because it is such an intrinsic small industry that there's a chronic fear of stepping on toes. You know, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
And, you know, we didn't understand, you know,
The politics, right? The inner workings.
But also, like, they told us they loved that. Why are we hearing from other places that they're not? So we got on The Mummy, and at that stage, I think a lot of things were changing in the studio at Universal, and we got hired to do a horror adventure film. And then that changed, not on our part, but I think the studio decided to change strategy. But it took them about 10 months to let us know, clearly. A lot of people were renegotiating contracts. You know, it's those things that's why I would have loved to have a studio job, because I didn't understand those things. And
how could you, though, right? It's such a small pool of people who get to have that life experience that it's almost dumb that anyone would expect you to know that inner working of that system. It's impossible. And again, they keep the door very tightly closed.
Yes.
There's no books written about it. I'm sure that no one's doing a podcast about the inner workings of studio negotiations, you know? So where do you learn that? Yeah.
But we were in LA developing The Mummy for a good 10 months. Not really, you know, it was weird because production wise, it's like, the studio, you know, the film is dated and the stages at Leavesden are booked and we have a full art department. So in some senses it was going very fast, but we were never satisfied with where the script was, and there was a confusion on definitely the tone of the movie and, to be honest, the genre of the movie. So eventually, after 10 months, you know, we understood that we were not the right people, and so did Universal. It was a lovely, you know, mutual breakup, I think. But, you know, I mean, they were nothing, no one was nothing but nice. It's just that things were not...
That magic. It's the magic you talk about.
But at that point, you know, because we had been 10 months living on Sunset Boulevard in a fancy hotel, not really understanding how all that was being expensed, you know, it's, those are things actually, I don't think they're happening in 2019
those costs
anymore.
Are definitely cut. You get an Airbnb at best in Toluca Lake.
Well, at that point, after being here for 10 months, we had developed a slate, and we were like, okay, we'll stay here, you know, because we were living in Barcelona. We came here to do The Mummy, then The Mummy didn't happen. So we said, well, we have enough projects that we're going to try to push. It was a very hard 2 years, I have to say, because we basically moved to LA and had quite a bit of development, but we were still learning how the system worked. And we were not making any money. And there is, I have to say, and I was talking to a couple directors the other day on this, what a massive chasm there is between your first film and your second film, especially if your first film had some commercial success, which Mama did, which was a bit of an accident. You know, I mean, we were not thinking that would happen.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that's when, you know, the pressure really of choosing the right project sets in, because the first project, you just want to make a movie, any movie. You just want to make a movie.
Yeah.
Once you've made a movie, you have to
build a career.
Well,
right?
Build a career and say, God, I don't want to fuck it up. Now that I kind of know how difficult this is, I have to be careful with my choices. If I make the wrong choice, you know. And Guillermo, I remember the weekend that Mama opened and it was #1 in the US, Guillermo told us, well, guys, now you get to make one more movie.
because it's one movie at a time. You know, this can be your last movie every time.
I
so
know, it's the worst.
It's tough.
It's not for the faint of heart. What
No,
we do.
no,
It's
no,
really
no.
crazy.
No.
Special type of human.
And it's not for the long time planners because there's no way you can plan.
There's no guarantee, and nobody has a crystal ball. Like you said, there's no formula. That's just such a wild. It's like you have to really be the kind of person who just loves to be on a roller coaster at all times, even though you're like vomiting and getting motion sickness.
I love it.
You're like, I love this most of the time. You know, like just a hot mess.
It's it's very comparable to marathon runners. When you ask them right after a marathon, are you going to do another one? I don't know. It just
It's intense.
But then, like 10 days later, you're training again for a marathon. So
you're like, how do we get here? Yeah. Yeah, it's true. That's a good parallel. I just want to check on time. Are you good? Because it's 7:30. I just want to make sure.
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay,
I'm fine.
Because we've been talking. I can talk forever. Like this is a good and a bad problem because then I have to edit this and I'm like, oh, I talk a lot.
No,
but this moment is so special and rare that I always want to like honor your time. But if you have time, I can keep going.
Let's go.
So, okay, what are the shifts that you've made and how have you grown in this time then? Since you went through this 2-year period, you got to make another movie, clearly, which was it. And then that became an even bigger success than Mama. Just took everything to the next level. And now you guys are in this sort of zeitgeist of the genre specifically, and everyone's got their eyeballs on you, especially with the sequel coming out. Like, how are you feeling about that?
Well, truly from 2016, mid 2015, which was when we first got involved with it, to now, I have become an adult.
Finally, at 47?
47, I'm an adult.
So there's hope for all of us. Because I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing half the time.
Well, we just made a movie about that, so check out chapter 2 and you'll
I can't wait. I'm going. I like. Here's the thing. I never watched the originals. I do not like scary movies. I had a brother. He's not my directing partner. He's one of my closest friends. But growing up, instead of us like reading things and collaborating together, he would oftentimes, because he's a big brother, lock me in a room and force me to watch Freddy Krueger and what was the other one? The doll, Chucky.
Yes.
So I grew up very not interested in that genre because it just I already have a very active imagination and I'm an anxious person. So I don't need more triggers, is how I feel. But I will say that last year, everybody was like, okay, I know you don't like scary movies, but you have to watch it because it's so special.
Thank you.
And it was true. And I was like, if you remove the horror elements of this movie, which are terrifying, by the way, it's a really incredible coming of age comedy. It's in my opinion,
Well, yeah.
And so that's why I'm like all in for the second one, even though the trailer and then the scene that you guys released is just terrifying. It's like the one horror movie that I like muster up the energy and then definitely have fears later of like, is Penny like in my closet? Like, could this be happening to me? Because it's true. Like that seed is so planted and it's fascinating. The people who love that genre and love that like feeling life at that level. It's interesting.
It's, but I have to say that contrary to your experience with horror, since I was a little kid, I found scary movies they would give me like the most amazing high.
Yeah.
Like,
exhilarating.
And the best part of it was that I could then compartmentalize that feeling, that the fear, basically. So it was something I would watch a movie and just go for a ride, during that movie and then it was over and that emotion was kept in a very safe drawer.
Interesting.
And I was fine, which didn't happen with other films in which I'm not good with cruelty. So cruelty, I saw a couple of films when I was a kid where they kill an animal, or if they, those are things that
Real things.
that just I was always as an escapist. I was always very bad at processing, so I would avoid those films like The Plague. I still haven't seen Haneke's Amour because I can't, no.
Yeah.
But give me the Howling. Give me.
So you're not leaving Warner Brothers at night in the dark by yourself, getting in your car and driving and having thoughts of like, because you've been staring. I mean, I guess with this movie with Pennywise, like you've seen the actor go through it demystifies that, even though you see the screen, you see it all come together. But there aren't any films that you've seen that make you sort of like, oh, could this like?
I love when I find something that scares me. I freaking love it, and it's in film generally. I don't really get, like, I can walk, and I do it all the time. I walk into my house at night and I don't even turn on the lights. I walk around the house, I get, a glass of water or whatever, and I don't turn on the lights. The darkness doesn't scare me. I don't know why. I don't know. It's something may be wrong in my brain.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's amazing. I think that like you said, you found a way to compartmentalize those feelings, and you know that monsters aren't real. They don't exist. They're there for like an emotional sort of response. And once that experience is done, it gets tucked away. I mean, as evidenced by all the Pennywise that are staring at me right now in this office.
I have a lot of toys in the office.
Yeah,
basically.
I think it's like, for me, just the terrible acts that humans can do to other people is always more terrifying than any monster.
100%.
And so it's like, what it triggers for me is that part of my brain. Not that I think I'm going to turn around and see a scary clown, but like the scary clown is going to be a man who wants to do something terrible to me, just a normal human man, like doesn't have to be in any sort of thing. And I think it activates that part of your brain of fight or flight. Like, what would you do if you were in that situation? So,
well, I get asked all the time what scares me, and what scares me is guns. I'm terrified of guns. I'm not terrified of clowns. I'm terrified of guns, because that is the real tragedy.
Yeah.
And when I hear that, a guy goes into a garlic festival with an automatic weapon that he buys at a Nevada gun show, how the hell did we get here? I do not understand it.
It's wild.
I don't understand it. So.
Yeah. A whole nother bummer conversation for another time.
Let's talk about happy thoughts.
We'll talk about happy things. Okay, so bringing it back, what has your experience been like as a woman in horror specifically, which, yes, all of Hollywood is very male dominated, but I find that horror especially seems to be very male dominated. However, I find it interesting that a large percentage of the actually movie going population who loves horror are women. Latina women especially.
So quadrant-wise, our strongest audience is young females. And this has been proved again and again and again and again. We test the film, we've tested this one, I think, 7 times at this point. And every time it's the same quadrant with the highest number. I don't think too much about being a woman. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I've always been very androgynous in my behavior at work, especially. And my closest allies, both professional and my friendships tend to be very androgynous people in the sense that it's hard to explain, but like people that are completely comfortable with men and women, and there's not a difference, which of course there's a difference, but there shouldn't be a difference when we talk about work,
right?
There just shouldn't be. That said, my best working relationships long term have been with women because I find them more efficient. That's my experience.
Yeah.
Again, I have been incredibly lucky that I don't think I have
because we generate our own work, I have not been in situations where I've found myself sidetracked because I am a woman. But I do think pay difference is still an issue. Big one. And I think sometimes I've had to fight, especially when I started getting to bigger checks, that I had to be very, very clear.
And how did you fight that fight?
Lawyers and agents.
Yeah.
And not dropping the ball.
Right.
With lawyers and agents and not taking the first offer and just pushing through. You have to.
Yeah.
I do the work. I get it done. So
you should be paid for it.
Yeah.
Right. Equally, if not more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Call me crazy.
Oh, but it's
true. It's true. No, that's good. I think it's like the energy to me. What you're saying about the androgynous thing is it sounds like perhaps you're not necessarily drawn to people who the dominant aspects of their personalities tend to be either overly masculine or overly feminine.
Exactly.
And it's not to say everybody's on the spectrum of some sort, and the people who are just, I think, connected to both sides of who they are tend to be perceived as androgynous. And to me, that should be the goal, to just be comfortable in your own skin. And you can be a woman who is extremely masculine perceivably in your work ethic and still be extremely vulnerable and sensitive and delicate in many ways, and be a sensitive human and be that person on set, like you were saying earlier, who's going to be able to shift the dial a little more to the feminine side and see what's actually happening with the crew or with what's, in this moment. And that is an inherently female quality on the spectrum, but it's the people who can kind of go back and forth and don't feel like showing the feminine side is a flaw to themselves.
Exactly.
To me, that's what I think you're saying.
Like, I'm super Latin and super sensitive, and I cry and I laugh and I occasionally scream.
I've learned that occasionally screaming is like amazing. Sometimes that's all the doctor ordered. Yeah.
An ex-boyfriend told me once, you have to slam the cat once in a while, which is, sometimes people forget. Gotta remind.
Yeah. In Brazil, it's this idea of like, sometimes you got to take off the flip-flop. I know you're wearing Havaianas, I think. They look like them. You just got to take the flip-flop and like actually throw it.
How do you say that?
Chanel. Você tem que tirar o chinelo e jogar o chinelo. So people know that you're just like, you're not messing around.
It's amazing.
I think it'd be incredible, like a producer who just is infamous for sometimes throwing a flip-flop at people. Like, you could be that lady. I'm here for it.
I am, in a way. I'm like,
yeah, if that's like with that Barbara, that's the thing about her. When she's serious,
she's throwing her
flip-flops. Her Havaianas. This podcast is brought to you by Havaianas. But I have a few more questions and then we can wrap it up. And if there's anything that I haven't touched upon, let me know.
Turn on the light.
Or
it's
if
gone.
you want Grace
We've been
to bring
talking
wine,
for
let
so
me know.
long.
I know. It's like already getting dark outside. There's 3 questions. I'll ask them and you can answer them or not. It's up to you. But the first one is, what's your guilty pleasure just in your life? What do you think creates career longevity? Mm-hmm. And then the advice question that, I'm sure you've answered a million times on all the panels and things you've done. Those are sort of the 3 questions that I want to wrap it up with. And then anything else that you want to add?
My guilty pleasure, it's not really a guilty pleasure. It's what happens every time I shoot a movie that I will gain 20 pounds. That's just reality.
Yeah.
And I deal with it.
What do you eat? What's the...
Anything that's put under my face, basically.
So anything at craft services. Do you have like a...
Well, what happens generally is that there's like this friendly competition, or sometimes unfriendly, between craft and catering. And it's who can feed you the most. So you have a copious lunch, and then craft service comes with like a tray full of cookies, and they tell you that they have specifically baked them for you, and
It's a lie.
it's a lie. It's a lie, but you fall for it. And then it's also, by hour 13th, you're
don't
just
care.
gonna jam whatever is out there, and I deal with it in the sense, okay, while I'm shooting, I'm gonna be 20 pounds heavier, and then when I come back,
Yeah.
it's getting harder.
Yeah.
The old metabolism.
For sure.
So, but whatever.
Yeah. There are worse things.
So that's my guilty pleasure. And then I love traveling. That's really, but that's not guilty. That's I love traveling.
No, that's just a wonderful thing to love.
Then what is the second question?
The second question was, what do you think creates career longevity?
Career longevity, I think, can only happen. This may sound like a cliche, when you truly love what you do. And even if you love it, you are going to, at some point, be disenamored by it or exhausted. The solution to that is take breaks. Everybody needs to take a break. I've been working straight for 4 years now. And guess what I'm going to do as soon as this movie's out? I'm going to take a fat break.
Where are you going to go?
Well, I was looking at the map. This is very sad. And I told my boyfriend today about it, and he was telling me, this is so sad. I bought this table mat for kids that has the map of the world. I used to travel, far away when I lived in Europe for 14 years, and I haven't done serious travel that's not for work. I went to Toronto this weekend for 7 hours.
Ugh.
So I don't want to do that kind of travel.
That's not the fun kind.
I want to get lost and go to supermarkets that have new stuff that I've never seen.
Yeah, that's the
and try
best.
strange foods.
Yes, the supermarkets are always my favorite.
I love it.
It's my favorite part.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, as I said, take a break.
Breaks
Take
are important.
breaks.
Recalibrate. I guess on that note, I guess you maybe just answered, but is that how you practice self-care?
Yeah.
Taking breaks, even if you can't travel necessarily, just detaching, disconnecting. Is that your way of resetting your soul?
Yeah,
when things get cray.
I mean, this is a term that's very trendy right now. I am, and I've always been an introvert, which means that I need the way that I recharge is by being alone.
Yes.
Alone. And that's the way I am. So when I need to recharge, I clear the weekend or the schedule or whatever, and I spend time alone, 100% alone. And that cures me. That allows me to think about the next steps. And that also allows me to do whatever the hell I want. And I'm very lucky because I'm in the most amazing relationship.
Congrats.
Thank you. We just got engaged. So I'm really happy to see that balloon over there.
Oh my God. She said yes.
I said yes.
In case
I said
people were
yes.
wondering. Oh, I didn't notice that. That's amazing.
He understands me, and he understands that I need to be alone sometimes. And my boyfriend, fiance, Arthur Phillips, is a writer. As a novelist, as a writer, you tend to spend most of your day alone. And then at night, you want something a little more social. Producers, on the other
It's the opposite. Yeah.
we talk all day with people. We talk and talk and talk. So at night, I need to reassemble.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think we'll wrap up with what would your advice be with, okay, so someone who specifically, not just someone who wants to produce, but someone who looks at your career and what you've done and where you are today in your career, right? Because who knows what the next decade holds. Right now, you're sort of a well-known producer in the horror space, I guess, right? Would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
So someone who's looking at you and say, you know what, I want to be a horror film producer. I want to eventually work with the studios. Maybe I'm from a different country. I want to follow in a similar path. And while that's impossible, because we know everybody's journey is so different, for that specific person who is looking for that guidance, then what advice do you give?
Well, the first thing is to understand what a producer does, I think.
Yeah.
And there is no clear path in the sense that whatever you're doing is the right thing. Just make stuff.
Yeah.
Just make stuff. I also recommend making shorts. Make shorts. Don't make long shorts because no one watches them. And I'm sorry to all the filmmakers out there making half-hour shorts. I promise you, people just don't watch them.
Right.
So
what's the sweet spot you think for length then?
Between 3 and 4 minutes. And I'm not proud of that, but I'm not marking that. It is what
it's just the reality.
I see people all the time before watching something scrolling to the end to see how long it is. So before watching content, they want to know how much time they will have to invest in that. So get involved with shorts. Learn how to produce a short. Then get into commercials. Don't snob out commercials because they're an amazing school of managing human beings and learning human processes and getting paid.
Good money.
It's like, good money because it's all about availability. And then I get a lot of this, especially now. I think when I was younger, this was not even a possibility, but I get a lot of younger people not being completely available for the jobs. They're more worried about what they're not going to be able to do. Part of their introduction is telling me, I don't know, how their life will interfere in what in the job I'm about to give them. Don't do that. If you want to enter this career, go in head first and just and then then you can realize okay that this is for me or this isn't for me. But production is a lifestyle. You can't avoid it. So if you're going in and meeting producers and starting with, but I can't do this and I can't do the other thing. I know that this seems very basic, but I've run into this problem so often that I end up hiring not necessarily the people that on paper are the most educated or the highest skilled, but the people that want the freaking job, that are hungry, because a lot of producing is about hunger,
appetite for
yes.
craft services or for catering.
That too. Free food, people.
Oh my god, that's incredible advice. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap? I mean, I could talk to you forever, so you have to kick me out.
It's truly, I have to say, after having been in the business in commercials or in film for a good 27 years, it's an amazing life. It's a great job. You just have to embrace it. Don't be scared of what you will or will not be able to do when you're doing the job. Just live it, and you make your choices as you go. It's you're never gonna get bored. So
that's for sure. That's for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carolina.
Thank you.
Fun.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad. I'm glad I provide the fun and the knowledge. And that's this week's episode. I loved every single second of my time with Barbara. I left our chat feeling inspired and motivated and just all around good feels. I mean, what an honor to get to have this deeper insight and learn about the nitty-gritty of her career and her path and all the hard work that she's put in to get to where she is today. So I'd love to hear what you think. What did you take away from this week's episode? Hit me up. I'm at Carolina Groppa. The show's at Life with Caca. Thank you once again for tuning in and doing this life thing with me. And I'll see you next week. Beijos.